Good morning, race enthusiasts. You're tuned in to F1 Motor Fever podcast, and it's all about Ferrari's love for British drivers today.
Indeed, a love story that's been going strong since the 50s, isn't it?
Right on. Mike Hawthorn being the first Brit to add a hint of Rosso Corsa red to his Union Jack back in 1953.
And he didn't just race, he won the championship in '58, a true testament of British grit and Italian horsepower.
Unfortunately, we lost him too soon, but the British legacy continued with Peter Collins, another Ferrari class act.
Collins, a superb driver, 2 victories in his debut season, that's some introduction to the Scuderia family.
Then came the 60s, and we saw Tony Brooks and John Surtees flying the British flag at Ferrari. Surtees even clinched the championship in '64.
The second Brit to do so. Interesting fact, Surtees was a motorcycle champion before he switched to F1, a very versatile sportsman.
Fast forward a few decades, and we're in the 80s and 90s. Nigel, Mansell, and Eddie Irvine keeping the Brit-Ferrari connection alive.
Mansell, a tough man with a mustache who was not afraid of a fight on the track.
And then there's Irvine, who helped Ferrari win its first Constructors' Championship in 16 years.
The 90s were quite a roller coaster for Ferrari, but Irvine was a constant performer.
Now in the 21st century, we have a new British driver wearing the Prancing Horse logo, Oliver Bearman.
Bearman was just a reserve driver, but seized his opportunity at the 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
And what an impressive debut it was, finishing 7th. He certainly has a bright future ahead.
And it gets brighter with Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, joining Ferrari next season.
Hamilton at Ferrari. Now that's a headline for the ages. Can't wait to see what they achieve together.
It's certainly a historic move, isn't it?
Aye, indeed. A tale of speed, skill, and the timeless bond between British drivers and the Italian powerhouse. The saga continues. Good morning, speedsters. It's George Watson at the wheel today, steering you through a very special episode of F1 Motor Fever podcast alongside our resident speed demon and all-around good bloke, William.
Good morning, race fans. Ready to ride shotgun with George?
Every Thursday morning, we swap out the usual host, the ever-charming Enzo, for little old me. We buckle up and burn rubber down memory lane, exploring the epic and historic chapters of Formula One.
And what a chapter we have today. Quite the ride ahead, folks.
We bring these special episodes to you on the F1 Motor Fever podcast channel. If you haven't already, do hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and don't forget to drop us a comment.
Sharing is caring, after all. Get your friends and family in on this amazing journey. You wouldn't want them to miss out, would you?
You're part of our pit crew, and your support keeps our tires hot and our engine running. Want more details on the subject? Stick with us.
Buckle up, folks. It's going to be a thrilling ride.
Today, we delve into the deep bond between British drivers and the iconic Italian beast, Ferrari, a union of speed, skill, and passion. You might ask, why this topic? Well, it's not just history. It's a living, revving legacy that's still shaping the F1 landscape.
And it's not every day we get to talk about a love story that spanned over half a century and is still going strong.
Absolutely, William. And now, without further ado, let's go. Full throttle. So let's start with Oliver Bearman, a name that's now etched in Ferrari's history. This young lad, only 18 years of age, made his debut with the Italian powerhouse at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in 2024.
And what a debut it was. Stepping in for Carlos Sainz at short notice, yet finishing in a respectable 7th place.
It's the stuff of dreams. The first Brit to drive for Ferrari in this century. We haven't seen that since Eddie Irvine in 1999.
I must admit, George, I didn't quite follow. Could you explain it differently?
Certainly. Imagine an 18-year-old kid gets a call from Ferrari to fill in for Sainz, who had to withdraw due to illness. He's suddenly thrust into the F1 limelight in a Ferrari no less. And amidst all this chaos, the lad doesn't just complete the race, he finishes 7th.
I see what you mean now. That's truly impressive indeed.
Let's get back in time a bit to the 50s. Mike Hawthorn, the Yorkshireman who was the first Brit to paint the town red with Ferrari.
Not just a racer, but a champion with Ferrari, isn't he?
Indeed. And it didn't take long for him to make his mark. Just 3 races in, and he nabbed his maiden victory at the French Grand Prix in 1953.
Hawthorn was a master at the wheel. Sadly, his retirement was short-lived. A tragic car accident took him from us.
A sad loss indeed. But let's turn to Peter Collins, Hawthorn's teammate in '58, a man who carved his own path in the annals of Ferrari's history.
Collins, a superb driver. 2 victories in his first season. That's not a feat everyone can boast of.
Absolutely, and even bagged a win at Silverstone in '58, but fate had a cruel twist in store.
Quite right. Collins' life was cut short in a tragic accident at the Nürburgring.
Racing is a high-stakes game, my friend. It promises glory, but sometimes it exacts a heavy price, a reality we must all grapple with. The Ferrari legacy continued with Cliff Allison joining the team for his second year in Formula One.
I remember him from his stint with Lotus in '58.
Right you are. His time with Ferrari was a bit of a roller coaster, though. Allison didn't exactly have a stellar start, with just 2 points to his name in his opening season.
But he did kick off 1960 with his only Formula One podium, didn't he?
Absolutely, but that high was swiftly followed by a devastating low. A crash during qualifying at the Monaco Grand Prix resulted in severe injuries and an abrupt end to Allison's Ferrari career.
A tragic turn of events indeed.
Now let's move on to Tony Brooks. His association with Ferrari was a brief one, limited to just 1959.
But he made quite an impression during that short stint, didn't he?
Quite so. The Cheshire-born driver managed to secure 2 Grand Prix wins in just 7 races. Short, but impactful. Tony Brooks, an established name when he joined Ferrari, was one of the favorites for the 1959 crown. However, reliability issues and even a labor dispute back in Italy led to him finishing second, just 4 points behind Jack Brabham.
It's interesting you should mention that. As a kid, I actually had a poster of Tony Brooks on my bedroom wall. I remember the disappointment I felt when he lost the championship that year.
Funny how these moments stick with us, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now moving on to John Surtees.
Ah, Surtees. Now there's a name that resonates. Motorcycle legend turned Formula One champion. Quite the career.
He sure did. Surrey-born Surtees moved to Formula One and joined Ferrari in 1963, and by the following year he'd clinched the championship. Quite an achievement.
Heart-stopping stuff, especially considering the dramatic finale in Mexico that year. Graham Hill was leading, but an unfortunate crash with Lorenzo Bandini turned the tables, making Jim Clark the favorite while Surtees was trailing in 5th.
As a child, I remember listening to that race on the radio with my father. The atmosphere was electric, even though we were miles away. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated drama that defined the sport for me.
Moving along through the annals of Ferrari's history, we come to Mike Parks, a driver whose Formula One career was rather brief, as he was more renowned for his talents in sports car racing.
Right, but all his Formula One starts were with Ferrari, correct?
That's right. Parks' first opportunity was at the 1966 French Grand Prix, where he filled the shoes of the recently departed Surtees. He had a total of 6 starts, 2 of which saw him on the podium.
And could you give us an example of one of his memorable moments during that stint?
Certainly. One that immediately springs to mind is his performance at the Italian Grand Prix in 1966. He started from pole position and fought tooth and nail to finish second. His drive in that race was nothing short of spectacular.
Quite an achievement indeed. And then we have Jonathan Williams, another sports car racer with only a single Grand Prix start to his name.
Indeed, his sole Formula One appearance was at the 1967 Mexican Grand Prix. A unique case, if you will. Let's delve a bit more into Jonathan Williams. He was given a chance in Formula One due to tragic circumstances. Both Bandini and Williams' teammate on the sports car program, Gunter Klaas, were killed in separate incidents.
It was a grim period for the sport indeed.
It certainly was. Despite the cloud of tragedy, Williams made the most of his opportunity. He qualified 16th, but finished the race as Ferrari's highest-placed driver in 8th.
And he swiftly returned to sports car racing?
Indeed, racing a Porsche in the 1970 Le Mans 24 Hours while also competing in F2 events.
And then we have Derek Bell, another Le Mans legend.
Absolutely 5-time Le Mans 24 Hours winner to be precise. His stint in Formula One was rather sporadic, with just 9 starts across 6 seasons. His first opportunity came in 1968 after impressing in F2, where he secured 2 podiums, one of which was for Ferrari.
But his Formula One journey with Ferrari wasn't exactly smooth sailing, was it?
Far from it, my friend. Both his starts in the 1968 Italian and United States Grand Prix ended in retirement due to mechanical failures. It just goes to show that even the most promising starts can sometimes lead to unexpected outcomes. So let's move on to Nigel Mansell, one of Britain's most successful racing drivers, but his tenure at Ferrari. It wasn't quite as triumphant. He joined in 1989, his 10th Formula One season, but McLaren's pace proved too strong. Mansell could only muster 2 victories that year.
And then Alain Prost joined Ferrari in 1990, right?
Yes, the reigning world champion joined Ferrari and finished 34 points above Mansell, who endured an incredibly frustrating season with 9 retirements.
9 retirements, that's a rough ride.
Absolutely, and it was so rough, in fact, that midway through Mansell decided to quit Formula One altogether and take up professional snooker.
Wait, really?
No, I'm just pulling your leg. But he did announce it would be his final Formula One campaign. However, that quickly changed when Williams managed to convince him to join their team for the 1991 season.
Blimey, you had me going there. I can't imagine Mansell with a snooker cue instead of a racing helmet.
Now we move on to Eddie Irvine. He became a part of the Ferrari team in 1996, alongside the reigning world champion, Michael Schumacher.
His role was quite specific, wasn't it?
Right you are. His main task was clear-cut, to support Schumacher in his title-winning ambitions. His start was a bit rocky, finishing 10th in 1996, but he did manage to improve, bagging 13 podiums over the next 2 years.
And in 1999, while Schumacher was sidelined, Irvine stepped up.
That's correct. Schumacher missed 7 Grand Prix after breaking his leg at Silverstone, and Irvine indeed delivered what is expected of a number 2 driver. He fought for the championship, but ultimately the title went to race winner Mika Hakkinen. Ferrari, however, clinched its first Constructors' Championship in 16 years.
A memorable period for Ferrari indeed.
Absolutely. And then we have Oliver Bearman, whose Formula One opportunity was quite a shock, announced just a few hours before final practice, a day after he'd qualified on pole for the F2's feature race. Quite the whirlwind, I tell you. Bearman, even with limited time in the cockpit, did a commendable job. The Essex-born driver was just a whisper away from Q3, and he advanced 4 places from 11th to finish the race in 7th, ahead of fellow Britons Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton.
Quite the promising start, then.
Indeed, and speaking of Lewis Hamilton,
yes, the reigning champion himself.
Hold on a minute. Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
What's caught your eye?
Lewis Hamilton joining Ferrari in 2025.
Yes, it's a significant move in the world of Formula One.
Significant is an understatement. The 7-time world champion leaving Mercedes for Ferrari? That's arguably one of the biggest driver transfers in Formula One history. And all as part of Hamilton's hunt for a record-breaking 8th title. Oh, I cannot wait to see how this unfolds. Well, for Hamilton to be in title contention, Ferrari needs to step it up a notch. Given how Red Bull, the current world champions, have dominated with 23 wins out of the past 24 Grand Prix, it's quite the task.
But as we know, the landscape of the sport can change quickly with new regulations.
Exactly. Regulation changes are set to come into effect in 2026, and that could very well be Ferrari's chance to shine once again. And this all coincides with the time when Hamilton will be 41 years old.
The combination of Hamilton's experience and prospective regulation changes could make for quite an interesting season.
Indeed, we can only wait and see how this thrilling saga unfolds. But rest assured, we'll be here to bring you all the details as they happen. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of F1 Motor Fever Podcast, folks. Today we had a deep dive into the realm of Formula One, specifically the fascinating career trajectories of Eddie Irvine, Oliver Bearman, and the big move of Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari. Your interaction with our podcast means the world to us, so don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you won't miss any of our episodes.
And do share our channel with all your fellow Formula One enthusiasts, whether it's on WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or even during a chat at the pub. If you enjoyed the episode, let us know in the comments.
We certainly hope you enjoyed the ride as much as we did. Shout out to Enzo, we know you'll love this one.
Don't forget we're here every day, with special episodes every Thursday morning. You won't want to miss what's coming up.
We can't thank you enough for joining us on this thrilling journey through the world of Formula One. Until the next episode, remember. Smith, pedal to the metal. Keep your gaze on the road. Our channel's content is pure gold.